Welcome back to Open Line Friday. Rush Limbaugh, half my brain tied behind my back just to make it fair. You always do that. Here's Elisa in Houston on the program. You're next. Great to have you here. Hi.
Hi. Thanks, Rush. I just wanted to say that I am just as frustrated and angry as you are when I watch how arrogant Obama is. It just makes me not even want to look at him. And it just makes me so mad. I don't understand why Romney and the rest of the Republicans don't throw that fair share thing back in their faces. You know, they say that the rich don't pay their fair share. And I think, sadly, most Americans buy into that. You know, they think, oh, yeah, that's right, they're not paying their fair share. When really, what is it? Like the top 10% pay 50% of all taxes.
Yeah,
is
and
that right?
let me tell you something about that. We've had that number on our website going on 5 years. For 24 years, let's just say 20 years, been making the point on this program that the top 1% pay 40%, top 5% pay 80%, whatever. We've been for 25, and yet I don't think if we had never mentioned it, it would matter. This is one of those arguments where the real numbers don't matter. That's why they don't ever. Oh, well, what is the fair share? Because it's never enough. The left is never happy. If you could get them to agree that a tax rate of 50% was fair, the next year they'd want 60. It's not. They're very wise not to demand a number. It's not about numbers. It's about attitudes leading to votes against Republicans. That's the only reason they spout this stuff. I'm blue in the face telling people that the top 1%, the top 10%, top 50%. I'm blue in the face telling people they pay their fair share and more. It doesn't register. That doesn't cut through the noise. That argument, I don't think, has ever mattered. It's never blunted it.
I think if Romney were to say that in a debate, you know, if you were to ask Obama, what percentage should someone who makes $300,000 a year, what should they pay? What percentage should they pay of their salary? What do you think?
He wouldn't answer it.
Fair share?
He wouldn't answer it. He would take the question and go off to another talking point, making the same point. He would not answer it. I guarantee you.
Well, and then it just irritates me that you have these Hollywood liberals who, give millions of dollars to Democrats, but then, they live in these mansions and they say that rich people aren't paying enough. I guess I just have always thought, why don't those people be the first to give all of their money away, except for, keep like $3 or $4 million.
Because
give the rest of their money to the government, and then they can tell other people.
You're making the mistake of interpreting them literally. When they join the chorus that the rich aren't paying their fair share, that the rich need to pay, but that's not what they're saying. All they're doing is trying to tell people who may have trouble coming up with $15 or $10 to go to the movie that they're no different than the audience. All they're doing is trying to relate. Some of them are ideologues, some of them are liberals and so forth, but all they're really trying to do is to form a linkage or a bond with their audience that they too are average people, that they too think the rich ought to pay fair share, that they don't want the audience to think of them as the rich who aren't paying their fair share, so they go out and call for it. It's how the Kennedys and the Warren Buffetts and the Bill Gateses of the world inoculate themselves from this very criticism. Elisa, they go out and claim the rich aren't paying enough. They never offer to pay any more themselves, but they join that chorus, and thereby they never get criticized for being rich.
I know, and I guess I just wish that instead of giving these vague campaign speeches, that you hear, it's just very vague stuff, and it's almost like they don't want to say, they don't want to just tell it like it is. And why these, why Romney?
Elisa, you're asking something impossible. You're asking for liberals to engage in the debate literally. They're never going to do that. they're never going to get specific and attach numbers to whatever argument they're, because it's not about what they're saying. It's all misdirection. It's all code. So when you hear them say the rich aren't paying their fair share, you're saying, well, what is? They're not thinking of a number. They're thinking of a way to relate to most people who aren't rich and trying to get them to support them or to let them know that they're on their side or what have you. The biggest mistake people make is listening to liberals and wanting to engage them literally. That's not at all what they're talking about when they say these things. Let me try again. When Ted Kennedy comes out and railed against the rich, that they weren't paying their fair share. Well, everybody said, well, you're richer than anybody in the world. What are you talking about? That's exactly right. Ted Kennedy knows, the Democrat Party knows that the class envy stuff sometimes works, that they can gin up real hatred for the rich. Well, they don't want to be hated, yet they're rich. So they run out and they criticize the rich as though they're not. And in the process, they inoculate themselves from their own criticism. See, everybody believes that big businessmen are Republicans, that big corporate CEOs are conservatives, and they believe in individualism and self-reliance, and they don't like big government and so forth. Nothing could be further from the truth today. The people like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett run around. They both do. They run around. There isn't enough charitable giving by the rich. They're not paying enough in taxes. The rich ought to be paying more. And in the process, the richest people in the world inoculate themselves from the hatred for the rich that they are helping gin up. And people leave them alone. And that means nobody's coming for their money. The biggest mistake in the world is to engage liberals literally on what they're talking about. When Ted Kennedy said, Robert Bork's America is an America where women are getting back out, that's not what he was saying. He was trying to sustain an attitude of bigotry and hatred harbored by conservatives. Pure and simple. We'll be back.